What you're about to see is a world that history tried to erase, a Tehran that existed before the revolutions, before the politics, when Iran was still called Persia, and elegance was its language. You're not just watching the past, you're standing inside it, witnessing a civilization at its most beautiful moment, right before everything changes forever. Steam billows across the train platform as merchants shout prices in rapid Farsi, porters weaving through the chaos with impossible loads balanced on their backs, the station alive with arrival. Women in black chadors glide past women in Paris fashions, their heels clicking on stone, while tribal men in felt caps and embroidered vests stand watching the modern world arrive on iron rails. The air carries layers of scent, coal smoke mixing with saffron from shopping baskets, rose water splashed on wrists, the dry mountain dust that coats everything in this high-altitude city. Beyond the station doors, Tehran spreads across the valley with the Alborz Mountains rising behind like a wall of snow and stone, their peaks sharp against the endless blue sky. A French automobile honks through the narrow street, scattering a flock of sheep being driven to market, the shepherd cursing in Farsi while the driver leans out shouting apologies. The soundscape is extraordinary. Metal wheels grinding over cobblestones, water sellers chanting their trade, the distant melody of tar and sitar drifting from open windows, children's laughter echoing between buildings. The streets reveal themselves slowly, each corner offering another contradiction. Medieval mud brick walls decorated with intricate tile work in blues and turquoises, modern electric wires strung between ancient minarets. Behind high walls, hidden courtyards bloom with pomegranate trees and roses, their fragrances escaping through wooden gates when servants pass through, carrying fresh bread still warm from underground ovens. This is Persia caught in transition, suspended between the poetry of Hafez and the machinery of Europe, between 500 years of Qajar rule and Reza Shah's coming transformation. See how the crowds mix. Henna'd beards bob next to clean-shaven faces, silk turbans next to fedoras, the old world and the new existing in the same breath, the same street. Fresh bread emerges from a baker's oven, the crust crackling, and immediately disappears into waiting hands, the mother breaking it apart, steam rising into the cool mountain air. Join our circle of time travelers by subscribing, and let's explore these lost centuries together. The alley narrows until the walls nearly touch overhead. Grapevines trained across wooden beams, creating a living ceiling, their leaves filtering the harsh sunlight into dancing patterns on stone. Behind latticed windows, shadows move as women watch the street, their eyes following every passerby, seeing everything while remaining unseen, the old architecture designed for privacy and observation. A tea house doorway opens into shadows and smoke, the interior cool and dark after the brightness outside. Men arranged on carpets and cushions around low brass tables, gleaming in dim light. The scene inside is timeless. Chess pieces clicking on wooden boards, newspapers in flowing Persian script being read aloud and debated, water pipes bubbling and hissing, sending sweet smoke curling upward. An old man gestures toward an empty cushion, the invitation wordless but clear. The worn silk and wool beneath revealing centuries of use, threads of gold and crimson still visible in intricate patterns. A glass of tea appears, dark as amber, with a sugar cube balanced on the saucer, steam rising in spirals, the glass so hot it can only be held by the rim. Persian custom dictating everything. Through the window, life flows past. A water seller in traditional dress with his leather pouch and brass cups, offering drinks to passers-by, his call melodic and practiced after decades of service. Children dart between adults, playing an ancient game with stones, their voices high and bright, pausing to bow respectfully when an elder passes, tradition still governing every interaction here. A woman emerges from a house carrying fresh herbs from her garden, mint and basil and tarragon, their scent preceding her down the street, destined for that evening's ash reshte or gourmet sabzi. The light transforms as afternoon becomes evening, the entire city turning golden, dust particles becoming visible streams of amber, every surface glowing as if lit from within by unseen fires. This is the magic hour when Tehran breathes, when the brutal heat finally releases its grip, when doors open and families emerge to walk, to shop, to practice Taraf's elaborate dance. The call to prayer begins, but different from Cairo or Istanbul, more melancholic, more lyrical, the Persian language making the Arabic words sound like verses from Rumi rather than proclamation. Prayer rugs appear in doorways and on street corners, men washing hands and feet at public fountains, the city pausing in collective devotion, a rhythm unchanged since the Safavids ruled. The scene shifts as a rare automobile passes, heading toward a different Tehran, where wide boulevards are being carved through the old city, European architecture rising between medieval walls. The buildings here attempt Paris and London, neoclassical columns, wide windows with actual glass panes instead of lattice, cafes where modern Persians discuss the future in French and English. Inside one cafe, young men educated abroad gesture emphatically over espresso, their suits tailored in Europe, their ideas radical. Factories, universities, women in modern dress, the complete transformation of society. European engineers sit at nearby tables, their blueprints spread across marble surfaces, drawing lines across ancient trade routes, planning roads that will connect Tehran to distant ports and possibilities. The conversation is electric. Talk of ending the veil, of mandatory Western dress, of replacing old ways with new, of dragging this ancient civilization into modernity by force if necessary. If this journey through Persia is surprising you. But through the window, the old city continues unchanged. A donkey cart passes loaded with carpets that took months to weave. The driver in traditional clothes, completely indifferent to modernity. The path leads back into authentic Persia, into the Grand Bazaar where the soul of the country has lived for centuries, untouched by foreign advisors and their ambitious blueprints. The vaulted corridors stretch endlessly, light filtering through openings in brick domes, the temperature dropping immediately, the air thick with commerce and history and ancient purpose. Each corridor belongs to a different guild, carpet merchants unfurling masterpieces from Tabriz and Kashan, their fingers running over silk and wool, explaining the symbolism woven into each pattern. Spice merchants preside over pyramids of color, saffron glowing like captured sunlight, turmeric and sumac, and dried roses, barberries and pistachios, the scents so strong they make eyes water. Coppersmiths hammer at their craft, the rhythmic metallic ringing echoing through stone corridors, creating trays and samovars and vessels that will grace Persian homes for generations to come. Tea sellers move through crowds with samovars on their backs, pouring glasses for merchants and customers alike. The ritual of hospitality essential to every transaction, business impossible without it. Watch as a carpet merchant demonstrates his wares, speaking in the elaborate language of Taraf, insisting his carpets are worthless even as he displays obvious masterpieces, the dance of courtesy. Dusk settles over the bazaar as merchants begin closing wooden shutters, counting money, wrapping unsold goods in cloth, preparing to return to families waiting with dinner and conversation. Follow as a car climbs north, leaving the dense city behind, the buildings becoming larger and more elaborate, hidden behind walls that promise the gardens beyond. As urban density falls away and mountain air grows cooler and thinner, consider this. If time could stop in any other decade of Iranian history, which would you choose? Share your answer. The gates of a Qajar garden appear, opening to reveal what Persian civilization perfected over millennia. The transformation of desert into paradise through the careful management of water and shade. Water flows everywhere in geometric channels carved from marble, splashing into turquoise pools, creating music that mingles with bird song, the sound of civilization triumphing over harsh mountain landscape. Pomegranate trees heavy with fruit line the pathways, their branches meeting overhead, while cherry and almond trees bloom in carefully planned succession, ensuring color and fragrance throughout all seasons. Roses grow in profusion, the legendary Persian roses that perfume entire valleys when they bloom, their petals used for rose water and medicine and poetry, their scent the very essence of culture. Families walk the garden paths, children playing near the fountains, while parents recline on carpets spread beneath trees, servants bringing tea and fruit, the wealthy performing the ancient ritual of leisure. The Alborz Mountains loom closer here, their snow-capped peaks catching the last sunlight, turning pink and gold, a reminder that this valley city exists between desert and mountain, between extremes. The light fades through shades of blue and purple and rose, the sky performing its nightly transformation. And somewhere, a nightingale begins its song, the bird that inspired 1,000 poems. This is what Pyridesa meant in Old Persian, this careful ordering of water and plants and pathways, this creation of heaven on earth, the word that became paradise in every language. Families linger as darkness falls, lanterns being lit along the pathways, the garden transforming into something magical, shadows and light creating new geometries, the fountain's sound becoming more prominent. In the coming years, Reza Shah's revolution will reshape everything. Traditional dress will be challenged, old customs questioned, ancient rhythms disrupted in the name of progress and forced modernization. These gardens will remain, but their meaning will shift, becoming museums rather than living expressions of culture, preserved but separated from the daily life that gave them purpose and meaning. Hold here in the garden as darkness completes its conquest, the sound of water constant and eternal, the rose perfume hanging in the cooling air, the ancient peace almost tangible. The garden offers a silent lesson that civilization isn't measured only in technology and progress, but in beauty and poetry, in the careful cultivation of what makes life worth living. Below, Tehran spreads across the valley floor, lights beginning to appear like earthbound stars, minarets dark against the luminous sky, the city preparing for another night of existence between worlds. The old and new Tehrans aren't enemies but aspects of the same complex identity, both Persia and Iran, both ancient and modern, both poetry and machinery existing in impossible harmony. This moment in 1925 is precious because both versions still coexist, when tea can be drunk in traditional tea houses or European cafes, when the choice hasn't yet been forced. The journey returns down the mountain, passing through neighborhoods where nothing has changed in centuries, where the same families have lived in the same houses since the Safavid dynasty ruled. A window frames a family at dinner, sitting on carpets around a sofre spread with rice and stew, bread and yogurt, their conversation animated, laughter carrying into the darkening street. The realization settles. The expectation was ancient Persia frozen in time, but the reality is far richer. A living culture negotiating its future while honoring its past, complex and contradictory. This is Iran's gift to careful observers. The understanding that identity isn't simple, that tradition and change aren't opposites, that a culture can honor 5,000 years while embracing tomorrow. The final call to prayer rises across the city, the last of the 5 daily rhythms, and Tehran prepares for night, ancient patterns continuing regardless of political change or modernization. Which lost world should we resurrect next? The golden hills of Lisbon during its age of discovery, or the fog-wrapped streets of Edinburgh during the Enlightenment? Leave your vote below. I'm Abigail. You've stood in Tehran's final peaceful moment before transformation, breathed the scent of roses, heard the water in paradise gardens, witnessed a civilization at its crossroads. Welcome to the circle, where the past isn't dead but sleeping, where sometimes the countries we think we know are the ones we understand least, where history is always closer than headlines.